Eugene Laverty, relaxing at home are you in Portugal at the moment, or Northern Ireland, or one of your other many residences?
Yeah, I've been in Portugal now, so yeah, pretty much from today. It's been 3 months. So soon I'm going to hit that 100 night mark in the same bed. I don't think I've ever done that before, so it's going to be a new all-time record.
That's good. And the wife hasn't quite yet wanted to divorce you because you spent that much time together, or vice versa, knowing.
Yeah, well, she's actually under the patio. We reached about the 1 month mark, and then
that was it.
Yeah, slap with a spade. No, I don't think I'm allowed to say things like that nowadays. No, we've been good. We've been doing DIY and all sorts at home, and give us a chance because we only just moved to Portugal recently. Give us a chance to unpack a lot of things and make our house a home.
Are you quite close to the Portimao circuit there, or?
Yeah, only 15 minutes away, so it's no distance at all. There's a little small road that goes there. Even on a bicycle, it's only like 25 minutes, so it's really close by. There's Le Mans 24-hour car championship, whatever, on this weekend, so you can even hear them the old time.
Nice. Well, there's 25 minutes on the bike or 30 seconds in the car with Pippa.
Well, if we're going anywhere long distance, you know that she has to drive, because I'm not allowed to drive fast. So I have to stick to the speed limit. But whenever she gets behind the wheel, she's allowed to just do whatever speed she likes. Yeah, so if we want to get somewhere faster, if we're in a rush, she has to drive. That makes sense. Logic.
So this coming season, or half season, or however many races you might get, your first time back in a factory or nearly factory operation. Were you looking forward to it?
Yeah, well, I think for most riders in World Superbike, we did the tests and then we did Phillip Island, and felt like the season was just started after a long winter break, and then it stops again. So it's probably even tougher for the GB boys because they didn't really get to do any races. So yeah, I'm keen to get going again. Like you said, I'm back in a factory team. It's the first time, truly, I would say, since 2013, whenever I was in the factory Aprilia team. And yeah, this is a proper factory effort from BMW. And, you know, I was with Sean Muir's team before with a different manufacturer, and going back inside the team again for the first test and just seeing the level of support, that really gave me extra motivation, because I know that BMW are properly behind this project.
It seemed that in the kind of limited winter testing that you had, that there was an awful lot of electronics work to do. Was that, yeah, there was. Was that you being picky and wanting everything to be 100% as close to being perfect as it could be, or was there just simply that much to do to get it right?
Yeah, there was a lot to do, to be honest. And when I first rode the bike, I was stunned how much work there was in that respect, because we know how good the BMW turns. We can see chassis-wise, it's may well be the best bike out there. And turning corners is pretty important nowadays. So electronics, I think people kind of misunderstand the work that you're doing there. This isn't something that's fine-tuning for rider's preference. We have more than 200 brake horsepower, and whenever MotoGP first came around with the 4 strokes, they had serious power, and these guys had it all in their hands, so that's why they used to light up the tires. But it wasn't long before we realized that wasn't the fastest way. So a big part of why we use our electronics nowadays is to control that power, because you only may need 130 brake horsepower or even less on initial gas. How guys were just the power at exit, you know, cutting cylinders and all sorts, because you don't need it. And whenever I rode the BMW first, I realized, okay, it was very raw in that respect. But that's how Tom liked it. You know, Tom, my teammate, is a rider that can grab the bike by the scruff of the neck, as we know. You know, he's very good over one lap, and he doesn't mind having a whole lot of power. But yeah, I wanted things to be better over 20 laps, so that was my focus right away. There was no point in chasing that one lap. I know this bike right now would be capable of doing circuit records, but yeah, to make it competitive over 20 laps, we need to get that power control sorted out to make the bike more manageable.
You wanted to add a little finesse?
Yeah, that's it. Have a little finesse, and even if I think back to where I was in 2013, the year that I fought for the championship, how much better understanding we have of things now, because we're going to the same tracks. So I was winning races in 2013, but there was short little straights at somewhere like Jerez, exit of turn one, and then late in the lap, out of the slow little second gear right-hand corners before the two fast right corners, we used to play with the gas there, because we didn't really understand the the work that you had to do. And probably it wasn't until after MotoGP that I realized how much lap time there was to be gained in that respect. If you're in a straight line, you should always be locked out 100% gas, because if you're playing with the gas even 90-95%, the bike's going to want to rock and wheelie and lose forward momentum. So if I think about the last 7 years, how much we've understood, and that's probably why somebody like Johnny Ray now can consistently do lap after lap, repeatable, and the tires last, and that's what we're working towards right now.
During your time at MotoGP, did you learn a lot, or not as much as you would have thought or hoped? Bearing in mind that you weren't in a factory operation.
Honestly, I would say the most I've learned is both times I went to Grand Prix, and it's not for the reason that many people think, because they think that, with Grand Prix being the pinnacle of our sport, the level is so much higher, so you're going to learn more there. That wasn't the case. The reason I learned most when I went to 250 Grand Prix for 2 years and MotoGP for 2 years was because I was riding donkeys. So whenever you ride a donkey, you have to really search for every 1% to improve your performance. And yeah, at times it made me over analytical, looked into things too much, but I was always searching for that little bit extra. And the reason why you wouldn't do that in a year when you're fighting for the championship is because a little bit of that case of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So if you're winning races, you're not going to be searching for everything to try and find lap time. Whereas when you're riding bikes that aren't capable, you're having to look for everything inside yourself, and also working with the engineers to try and find that little bit of lap time. So that's probably why I learned more during those years.
From the outside, it didn't look like you were having a huge amount of fun.
No, I don't think any rider's having fun when they're not winning. That's the mentality of a winner, and that's a big part of the reason why I came back to World Superbikes in 2007. And it's strange because the same thing, like I said, happened whenever I was in 250. The team that I was with there couldn't understand why I was searching to go to World Supersport to ride a competitive bike, and then whenever I was thinking about coming back to World Superbike to ride a competitive bike, they couldn't understand it, because they said, "No, look, you're here. You're at the top level. You've made it." To me, that's not making it. Just participating doesn't really serve a purpose. If you're a race winner, then you want to be winning races. And there is some guys that have kind of stayed around that midfield for a lot of years and are happy just to kind of wear that Grand Prix hat. But no, I was never keen to be there just to participate. I wanted to go, give it a shot. And I didn't succeed for one reason or another, so I wanted to return towards Superbikes and try and win races again.
And presumably now you think the BMW is a thing that you can win on?
Yeah, definitely. And it was around this time last year whenever I was on the phone to Sean all the time saying, please give me a shot on the seat. At that stage, I didn't have functioning wrists, so it was a hard one to convince him to bring me back on board. But a lot of thanks to Sean for believing in me again, because it wasn't like I had great results last year to showcase myself either. And I saw the BMW on track at Phillip Island whenever I was battling with the guys, and I couldn't believe how well the bike turns. And I'm always talking about turning corners nowadays, because that is the hardest thing to make a bike do. The rest of it we know, like we discussed electronic wise, we can do that with the engineer. It's on a computer. Engine work, I leave that up to the guys in Munich to develop. But sometimes getting a bike to turn corners, it's a bit of a black art, and BMW really hit the nail on the head with this bike, how well it turns.
You mentioned your crash there. It was pretty horrendous. the accident itself and the injuries that you suffered. What happened that day? Because it seemed to be a strange crash to have.
It was odd, and it's a big part of the blame is with me. Of course, I had no traction control, but I knew that, and I should have been in the pits. But it's something I've always battled with throughout my career. Well, I say career, but probably just life. I never knew when to give in. I always kept going. So I've remounted on bikes with oil pissing out of them, and even Super Sport once. I knew that the brake reservoir in the crash had broken off, so I was just riding with what was left in the little pipe, just waiting for the brakes to fail. And thankfully, they didn't until they slowed down a lot. Stupid stuff like that. And I think these last couple of years has taught me I really got to learn when to throw the towel in, because the same happened whenever I broke my pelvis in Thailand. We changed the tires in the grid, like everybody does. And as I went off on the warm-up lap, I leaned right, and I knew the tires wasn't right. And I said, go get in the pits, change the tire. But for some reason, I just couldn't do that, and I lined up on the grid. And then thought, okay, if I can wobble around, really dig my knee in, and make sure I keep it upright. And then I crashed in the one corner where I wasn't digging my knee in because I didn't think it could fold, and got ridden over by another rider. So I've only got myself to blame. These things do happen to other riders, but they know when to throw in the towel. And I've never really known. So hopefully one of these days I'll learn my lesson and know when to call it quits.
In that you crashed with your brake pelvis, you had a pretty bad time of it in that med centre and subsequently till you got home.
It wasn't pleasant. I'd say the first 24 hours wasn't the best, but after that, whenever I got moved to Bangkok, it was pretty good. I say good. I mean, I was in a private hospital then for a couple of weeks, and they wouldn't let me fly because of some of the internal stuff that was going on. But no, the pelvis fracture wasn't so bad. It was a little bit of displacement there, but it was able to heal without surgery. The wrist thing was more difficult because I really mashed up my wrist badly. So fortunate that my right wrist is functioning again, because that's the worst one, and that's a money maker for us riders.
No, absolutely. And when you were trying to find another ride for this year, obviously you spoke to Sean. Did you have many serious conversations with other people, or was it almost like I want to ride this BMW and I'm going to make sure you'll take me on again?
Getting on the BMW was my first priority, but I was very far down the line with Manuel Pichetti. I was going to take over top rack seat. We were pretty far down the line there, and Manuel he showed interest very early on. Even we spoke in Aragon, as early as Aragon. We had a coffee on the Thursday, and he showed interest in me at that stage, and I really hadn't done anything on the Ducati until that Saturday, wasn't it? And then when I was battling with both Johnny and Chaz. So I'd say that was the two seats that I was taking both seriously. There was a few other ones that I had to look at, but yeah, I was pretty far down the line with Manuel, and he understood as well with the BMW. It was a factory effort, and you can't turn that down.
And what do you have somebody with you, apart from obviously Pippa, who helps massively, because your own brother will be helping Chaz? Yeah. Do you have someone? I mean, does John help you, or is John concentrating now mostly on his physio business and that kind of thing?
Yeah, John's helping me as well. John's been working with me since he stopped racing himself, and it does take time to build up that experience, of what you're looking for at the side of the track. Because if I'm doing that, whenever I was trying to spot things for Michael and John, if I went to BSB, it was hard for me to spot that. But John has been looking trackside for a lot of years, and he's developed a keen eye for being able to spot certain things. So it's good having John out there. And like you said, Michael's working together with Chaz now. Whenever Michael and John are both there, they're often out on track at the same time. So it's always interesting to chat with both of them afterwards. And yeah, I think nowadays we see just how important that is becoming. because I like to watch back the sessions after a practice session or a race. The cameras are always in exactly the same spot, aren't they? So you're always watching the same footage. And especially if you're returning to the same track, you've got a general idea of where to be. But sometimes, yeah, when you go to a new track, that's really a helping hand to get somebody else out watching around the track, and especially somebody like my brother John that's raced for many years and understands the game well.
It's now a fair size racing clan, the Lavertys in the Davis.
Yeah, it is. It's a competitive old bunch, and we've known Chaz for so long. I first met Chaz in 1998, so yeah, that's a long time. And yeah, recently, was it last year in Argentina, Chaz and I sat down whenever I was doing my podcast, and we managed, most of the episodes would have been 40, 45 minutes. Chaz and I talked for, I think, an hour and 45 because we were just remembering so many of the old tales and things that he remembered and wasn't sure if I did remember. But yeah, we've known each other for such a long time. Whenever we were just eating Haribo, and I wasn't in racing at that time, Chaz was riding Aprilia Super Teens, and I was just the younger brother moseying around riding BMXs. And then now we're in the World Superbike Championship racing together. It's bizarre.
And when you've got the end of this year, and then there's next year yet, because you've got a contract to sort out hopefully for 21 with BMW. Are you down the road with that a little way with Sean, or is that still something that you've got to approach?
My priority is to stay on the BMW, and I think it makes sense for us to continue things on. We're only getting started, and I haven't much to show for it results-wise, but I think the progress we've made over the winter tests and even the Phillip Island week, we say the Monday and Tuesday test and the race weekend, was huge, and the bike was coming on leaps and bounds. So it was tough to really show my speed because I was having to be the development rider, but I knew how important it was. I had to be patient, and we're starting to see the fruits of our labour now. So it's time to get back on track and see where we're at.
How was Phillip Island as the first race weekend?
Well, looking back at the week, probably with rose-tinted glasses, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I can see that I kind of went round in a bit of a circle with the bike that week because I was struggling right away from day one. And Phillip Island was a track where I thought I can be really strong here because, like I said, the bike chassis-wise is great, and that's what you need at Phillip Island, but I was really struggling. And we changed a lot of things chassis-wise. Probably come Saturday night for Sunday morning, we'd put the bike almost back chassis-wise how it was. And the bike was awesome in the Sunday warm-up before I crashed then. So the root of the problem, as we knew, was controlling the power, making the bike rideable, because it was a bit of a handful. And while we were doing that in the background all week, we'd been messing around chassis-wise, but the bike was pretty bang on. Just needed to tame the thing. Unfortunately, I threw it in the gravel stupidly on Sunday morning. It was such a freak crash, to be honest. I got lunched off it and didn't even realise I was down. It happened so quickly, but if I'd completed that lap, I was up there in the top 3, I think. So the bike was spot on.
So is the taming of the beast the kind of the script for the rest of the season now?
I think we've done a big part of it. Whenever we were speaking in Phillip Island, there was stuff we discussed that what will be ready by round 2, what may be ready by round 4, round 6. Suddenly we've had these months now that all those upgrades that were coming, because these things take time. The guys were still able to work at home, especially on the electronic side. Now a lot of it's in place. It's just a matter of getting back on track to confirm it. Because like I said, when I got on the bike in November, and the bike was really tough to ride, and then we arrived in January at Jerez again, and my first lap, I couldn't believe the transformation. But that's the benefit of having a factory supported team. Those engineers really know what they're doing. So I get back on the bike, and suddenly it was so much easier to ride, and the laps were repeatable. So when I talk about being easier to ride, this isn't something a matter of just rest on it or fitness wise. This is something that I could drag it around for a few laps, but there's no point if it's not capable of doing it for 20 laps. That's the key if you want to win races in our championship.
if you've got a load of upgrades and parts and things all sat in the back of a truck waiting, that's a long process to go through them all and figure out what works well with what. So you could be developing the bike for the rest of the season for 21 now with all the upgrades that are waiting for you.
No, I don't agree. I think, I'm not talking about new parts in terms of chassis and swing arm and whatnot. It really needs a lot of back-to-back testing. This is electronic stuff that they can simulate and have simulated already. So it's a matter of going on track and giving them my impression of that. Because sometimes something may look great on the laptop and then you go on track and the rider may not even feel a difference. So always the final test is on track. So it's just a matter of confirming what works.
And you'll be back at Jerez, for the looks of it, in the middle of August.
Yep.
It's going to be warm.
Oh yeah, we're going to have some heat, aren't we? So we got Jerez and then Portimao here. So it's going to be really, really hot. I'm lucky though, because travel-wise, I can drive there. It's going to be tough, isn't it, for a lot of the guys to come from the UK. It's changing every few weeks. I don't know what's going on with the UK government. I gotta sometimes just switch the TV off. It seems to be changing every few weeks, but hey, that's a story for another day.
And you'll kind of be for the second round, you'll be at your kind of home track.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to be able to sleep in my own bed. Even when I did test here in the winter, to sleep in my bed here and then head out my own car to the track, it felt bizarre. I've never been able to do that before. To do what the Formula One drivers felt like whenever they do the GP in Monaco then.